The man who saw the light. It was a quiet morning in Jerusalem. The sun had just begun to climb over the rooftops, and the narrow stone streets were coming to life. Traders were unrolling their rugs, shopkeepers lifting their shutters. Amid the bustle, Jesus and his disciples walked slowly, purposefully, through the city. As they passed by one corner near the temple, they saw a man sitting on the ground, legs crossed, back resting against the stone wall. His eyes were open, but unseeing, cloudy, unfocused. A beggar's cloak was wrapped around him, and a small bowl sat at his feet, holding a few scattered coins. This man had never seen the light of day, not once in his entire life. He had been blind from birth. The disciples slowed their steps. One of them, perhaps Peter or John, turned to Jesus and asked the question that lingered in so many minds in that time. Rabbi, who sinned? This man or his parents? That he was born blind? It was the common belief then. Suffering must come from sin. If someone was sick, or poor, or disabled, surely it was divine punishment for something wrong. But Jesus shook his head. His eyes, gentle, but full of authority, rested on the blind man. Neither this man nor his parents sinned, he said, but this happened so that the works of God might be displayed in him. The disciples watched, puzzled. What could that possibly mean? Jesus knelt down beside the man. Without a word, he spat on the ground just enough to make a little mud with his fingers. He mixed the dirt and saliva, his hands steady, deliberate. The blind man remained silent, perhaps wondering what was happening. Maybe he'd heard footsteps pause. Maybe he was used to people passing by and talking about him as if he couldn't hear. Then Jesus did something unusual, something no one expected. He took the mud and gently applied it to the man's eyes. Go! He told him softly. Wash in the pool of Siloam. The man said nothing. He didn't know who this was. But something about the man's voice, something about his presence, made him believe. He stood up, found his way likely with someone's help down the familiar streets to the pool of Siloam, where pilgrims came to purify themselves. He knelt by the water's edge, dipped his hands in, and washed away the mud. And then light. For the first time in his life, he saw shapes, color, faces, the sparkling surface of the water, the blue sky overhead, his own hands. The blind man could see. Word spread like fire through the neighborhood. People who had passed him every day for years were now staring at him. Isn't this the man who used to sit and beg? No, it just looks like him. It is him, he kept insisting. I am the man. Then how were your eyes opened? They asked, stunned. He told them exactly what had happened. The man they called Jesus made mud, put it on my eyes, told me to go to Siloam and wash. I did, and now I can see. They didn't know what to do with this. So they brought him to the Pharisees, the religious leaders, the ones who knew the law. But the Pharisees were already disturbed. This healing had taken place on the Sabbath, a day when no work was to be done, not even making mud in their eyes. This man is not from God, some said. He doesn't keep the Sabbath. Others disagreed, but how can a sinner perform such signs? And so they were divided. So they turned again to the man. What do you say about him? They asked. He didn't hesitate. He is a prophet. But the leaders weren't satisfied. They weren't even sure the man had been blind to begin with. So they sent for his parents. His mother and father arrived, cautious and afraid. They knew that the leaders had already decided. Anyone who acknowledged Jesus as the Messiah would be thrown out of the synagogue. Is this your son? They asked. Was he really born blind? How is it that he can now see? The parents replied carefully. Yes, he is our son. And yes, he was born blind. But how he can see now, or who opened his eyes, we don't know. Ask him! He is of age. He can speak for himself. So the leaders called the man back in. This time, they tried to get him to condemn Jesus. Give glory to God by telling the truth. They said, we know this man is a sinner. But the man stood his ground. Whether he is a sinner or not, I don't know. One thing I do know. I was blind, but now I see. They sneered. What did he do to you? How did he open your eyes? By now, The man was growing bold. He had been silent and unseen his whole life, but no more. "I've told you already," he said, "and you didn't listen. Why do you want to hear it again? Do you want to become his disciples too?" They were furious. "You are this fellow's disciple." "We are disciples of Moses. We know God spoke to Moses. But as for this man, we don't even know where he comes from." The man's reply cut through the room. "Now that is remarkable. You don't know where he comes from, yet he opened my eyes. We know that God doesn't listen to sinners. He listens to the godly person who does his will. Nobody has ever heard of opening the eyes of a man born blind. If this man were not from God, he could do nothing." That was too much for them. They threw him out, excommunicated him from the synagogue, the center of community life. Later, Jesus found him again. He looked at the man no longer blind, no longer begging, and asked, "Do you believe in the Son of Man?" The man said, "Who is he, sir? Tell me, so that I may believe in him." And Jesus said, "You have now seen him. In fact, he is the one speaking with you." The man's eyes filled with more than just sight. He saw with his heart. "Lord, I believe," he said, and he worshipped him. This was more than just the healing of a physical condition. Jesus gave the man sight, but more importantly, faith, while the religious leaders remained spiritually blind, clinging to rules. Missing the miracle right before them, this man, once rejected and forgotten, became a witness to the truth. He was blind, but now he saw in every way.